coming out of Tokyo Dome week, we expected things to slow down. Instead, we got an excellent Battle in the Valley show that Jeremy Finestone attended in person. So we're going to hear all about that and go over that show match by match. We're also going to look ahead as we move toward new beginnings. And we're getting very good news about the feelings of the fans of New Japan Wrestling and their enthusiasm for the product. Strong ticket sales coming up for the new beginning in Osaka. Is New Japan headed in the right path like we're hoping? Kind of seems like it is. And that Battle in the Valley show did nothing to dissuade us from thinking that the good things are ahead. So we're feeling mostly in a good mood, even if Jeremy is a little bit under the weather. Well, we're going to get into Battle in the Valley, look ahead, talk about the hangover that comes from Wrestle Kingdom and Wrestle Dynasty. There's always plenty of news. So with Jeremy Finestone, I'm Stephen Conway. This is Speaking of Strong Style. Welcome to Speaking of Strong Style, where we discuss the news, issues, and events surrounding New Japan Pro Wrestling. I'm Stephen Conway, of course, like I mentioned. Jeremy Finestone is with us. And Jeremy, that Battle in the Valley show was so good, it made you sick.
Well, no, it didn't. It was an excellent time. It provided me probably with an all-timer memory at a wrestling show. Great wrestling top to bottom. But yeah, I'm a little under the weather. I went to that show on Saturday, went to the Raw on Monday down the street. Then I got my physical and I got a bunch of shots to get me from like the flu and all that. And then I think that's what actually put me down about 48 hours later. So I am riding something called NyQuil or Dayquil or whatever, and we're gonna sally forth like Army of Darkness, sally forth, and talk about some New Japan Pro Wrestling. Let's go, Steven.
All right, and Colin is here. Hello, he says, have I recovered from my Japan adventure? Yes, I have. Thank you for asking. It took a while. My sleep pattern didn't really get back on track until really a couple of days ago. I would have these things where I would be exhausted all day. I'd go to bed at 11 o'clock at night or so, and then be just bright, wide awake at 4 a.m. and just cursing. It's like, doggone it. No, no, please no. And
at 4 a.m. is my natural state, Stephen.
Well, fair enough. I
understand is all I'm saying.
Yeah. And so and then I would be so wide awake, I would just be hopeless. So I would just get up and watch Stardom or something like that on the TV in the living room. And then around 4 o'clock in the afternoon, I'd be a zombie again. And all that. But that's finally worked its way through. I think I'm back on my regular schedule. So, but feeling good. And I put up some of the stuff I got in Japan there and behind me. And so, it's one of those things where the Battle in the Valley show kind of snuck up on me, just because I was recovering from that trip. And then I realized, Saturday, it's time for the San Jose show. And Sam is here from Power Bombshells. Hey, Sam, glad you're here. And we walked right into that and walked headlong into an excellent wrestling show. This was a heck of a program, considering it was only about a week after the biggest weekend of the year. A lot of fun. You were there. You were up in the balcony. And can you tell us a little bit about the buzz in the crowd as you got in there? Like, what was the experience like for you?
All right, so just a little bit of context. I worked the morning, and then I had to nap throughout the day. And then I met up with a couple of friends before the show and got a couple of burgers because I walked over and everyone did the parking. So I got there right at the very end of the pre-show tag match. And so I don't have a whole lot of visuals on that. But when I got there, it felt energetic. It felt like a good crowd. I think they ended up with about 1,800 out of 21 of a crowd with a pretty strong walk up at the end. About 300 or 400 people walked up at the end of the night, from what I was told. The merch was popping. From being up where I was, I could see a very energetic ringside crowd, and I'm always in the back row of the bottom area, which is a really good place to be. These were the best seats in the house. Miguel Rubio, who listens and watches to the show, he picked up tickets for all of us, and outstanding job doing with the tickets. My friend, I wanted to shout him out for that.
Cool.
The show was long. Okay, let's get that out of the way. By the end of it, everyone in the crowd was burnt out and ready for it. And I feel kind of bad for Desperado and Taiji Ishimori, but there wasn't a bad match on the show, right?
No,
like everything on there. And frankly speaking, I'm bearing the lead, but that goddamn retirement was an all-timer moment. Like,
yeah,
I was not expecting any of it, and it hit me hard, just kind of like watching, people that have been around the majority of our adult lifetimes wrestling, and then getting that kind of moment that you don't expect, right? You just kind of, you're all able to just take it in together, and it was really touching. Like, I don't, like, I'm kind of choking up, like, thinking about it right now. It was special. And I think everybody who was in the audience for it at that moment knew how special it was.
I think they overachieved both in the match, which was terrific, and both the match and the emotional ceremony afterwards. I think both of them were just really, really well done, and no notes to the point that I can't think of what they could have done better for her. And we learned.
Well, let's talk about it. Like, let's talk about the match and everything that they did. So they framed the match, ahead of time as Sumi Sakai making one last effort to make sure that her friends Evil and Sho and Hiromu Takahashi, who she mentored through the time in Ring of Honor, to reconcile their friendship one last time. There's the last thing that she was going to do in wrestling. This is what she was going to do. And she came out to the House of Torture music, and a little confusing, no Evil. Like, you kind of knew immediately that there were shenanigans coming into this match. And so she came out, and then Joe came out with her, and then we're kind of looking around, and then we got the Yuka Sakazaki entrance. Then we get the Mayu Iwatani entrance. And the crowd's kind of buzzing. Like, this is the first time I've really seen, like, that energy for them in San Jose. And then you got Hiromu Takahashi. What do you got?
Yeah. Well, what I'm saying is, just for clarify everything in the background, Sumi Sakai worked for Ring of Honor and worked a lot in the United States over the course of her career. Both Sho and Yo, when they were the Tempura Boys, before they were Roppongi 3K, they came over to Ring of Honor, and so did Watanabe is Evil before he was Evil. And part of what she did with these guys is they would stay at her house. She would help them get around the United States, teach them how to kind of help them assimilate a little bit here. So she became an important part of the development of some key wrestlers from Japan, and that she made them feel more comfortable in the States, help them through their excursion, and thus make it a better experience all around for them. So there is a lot of affection for Sumi on both sides of the ocean. Both the people that know her in the United States, no one has a bad things to say about her. And then there are a lot of wrestlers in Japan who feel like she went above and beyond for them to help them when they were in the US. So good feelings all around, even to the point where, Evil and Sho and House of Torture are willing to go over there and be part of her retirement. And she was going to find one last bit of good in them if she could.
Right. So what I will add to the energy of this before I'm just going to hand it off to you to do the play-by-play of the match, because I swear to God, you probably have a better play-by-play than I ever was able to do. And the thing is, I'll probably go to Corkin Hall next year for New Year Dash or something like that. In the entire time that I have been to New Japan shows, I've been going probably since 2018 to live shows, starting with Strong Style Evolved in Long Beach. And, I've gone all over the place. I went to Madison Square Garden for the Ring of Honor show there. If I ever felt like there was a match in the United States that felt like it was meant to take place in Corkin Hall, this was that match. Like, this felt so authentically like a Japanese match in Japan in so many ways that, like, I think the entire crowd kind of felt that. Like, it wasn't like trying to play up to the United States crowd. It was unapologetically something that you would see in the upper, like, card of any show in Corkin Hall. And that's what I think the crowd really got into it for. And so just take that into account when we're describing the details of this match.
Okay. So the match, like you mentioned, Evil was not there. It was Sumi and Sho out at first. And so when the match began, Hiromu, Mayu, and Yuka Sakazaki were in the ring. They were going to do a little pose for the photographers right there. And then Evil comes running out and attacks them all from behind. So this, once it got started, was about as good an example of a mixed tag as I've really seen. It was very creative. It was fun. Told the story of Sumi trying to find the good and evil in Sho, like I mentioned. They would cheat. She would try to stop them from cheating. She would encourage them to work as a team with her, but there's still snakes in the grass, I tell you. There were spots with and against. At one point, I think they gave Sumi a boot in the gut and threw her into one of the baby faces in the corner, for instance. But in the end, after a really entertaining match where people were hitting big moves, I think, what was it? Mayu hit a tope suicida, Yuka Sakazaki with a dive off the ropes onto the guys. And Sumi went out on her shield. She took the big move of each of her three opponents in the end, and that's what it took to finish her off. Afterwards, of course, was the real treat, where words from many people about what Sumi meant to them, and Sumi was very emotional. Most of the locker room, not named Evil or Sho, who kept in kayfabe with House of Torture, came back out to applaud her. Yeah, they just kind of
vanished.
They slunk out after losing.
The moment Evil took everything of Evil, he disappeared.
Yeah, that's true.
Never saw him again.
He took everything is evil from Hiromu, and they just kind of slid up the aisle and away while everybody's focus was on Sumi in the ring. So everybody else basically on the card came out and applauded her. Well, most of the people on the card came out, applauded Sumi, and again, a little ceremony there. The picture in the ring with most of the card right there was pretty fun to see as well. So overall, pretty emotional moment when you realize that there are a lot of people with a lot of good feelings toward this woman who's hanging it up after a very long and very successful career. And there's one. This is your picture yourself, Jeremy?
Yeah, this is where I was sitting for the entire show.
Very cool. Very cool.
I was gobsmacked at the dead center of the ring. Just yeah.
Yeah, and Flaming Shark is here too. Good to see you, Shark. He says, I was there for the randomness of the match, but it was way better than I could have imagined. It was so fun, especially being in the building for it. Oh, good. Shark was there too. House of Torture
he was.
At its best, absolute best as well.
I was hoping I would run into him or them. It did not happen. It was just I got there, I went straight to my seat. I almost, there was no way. Unless he hit me up on Twitter, I was locked into just sitting there and not moving.
Nice that Yo was there for this one as well, because even if Sho was part of the match, and of course, the Sho and Yo, they were on excursion together.
The tag match.
Yeah,
I get it.
Terrific stuff. Yeah. Wow. So yeah, happy thing there. That was just a feel good moment in a business where you don't always get stuff like that. A lot of people don't get to pick how they go out. And
when ring announcer did that, and now Sumi Sakai retirement match, I think my jaw dropped because I could see the one of the ring boys come out with the big bouquet of flowers, and I was like, oh, that's why we only have 8 matches here. And so I was just like, I should have seen it coming. I wasn't prepared for it, but I think this was so emotional that all the matches after kind of suffered in terms of what the crowd was getting up for. Like, they were getting up for it, but it was like you had sprinted before the end of the marathon, and now you're a little gassed trying to get to the end.
Bankin says, I still wonder who was under that mask.
Do you have any guesses, Steven?
What? Tell everybody what he's referring to.
Okay, so when Sumi Sakai was in her match, there was one individual, which appeared to be a young woman in almost a Starlight Kid mask getup. Would you say? Like, what was the? It was a full body costume with almost like a Starlight Kid kind of mask.
Yeah, it wasn't the Starlight Kid outfit, but it was inspired by, certainly.
Right. When you were watching Wrestle Kingdom, all the Stardom wrestlers were ringside for the match, the IWGP match and the other match, but the don't know who it was. It was clearly someone that was important and wanted to be there, but for whatever reason could not be identified on screen. So make a conclusion of who that could be. It could be a Joshi wrestler from Japan. It could be someone from WWE. But who it could have been based off of that roster, I don't know. Would you say like Roxanne Perez or somebody like that?
I mean, I don't know. I feel like Roxanne, who's about 3.5 feet tall, probably would have been noticeable as in there. I think that was a little too tall for Roxy, but I'm not. Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure, but it is someone who definitely, like as Shark mentions, WWE was in San Jose on Monday, so it could have been someone from there. And Venkin mentions it might have been a Kamataichi mask. Okay, so that's one of Hiromu's gimmicks there from his excursion in CMLL. That's how it was referred to on Twitter. He saw.
We might find out honestly, one day who
and they didn't on TV. They did not shoot any close-ups of it. You saw the person, but not close enough to say, "Oh yeah, that's that person." They were mostly wide shots, so you really didn't get a good look to be able to tell.
They were heavily de-emphasizing her without acknowledging that she didn't exist. You know what I mean? Like it was just like she's there. We're moving on.
Yeah. So there you go. But good.
A top 10 moment in live events that I've ever, like wrestling events. I don't know if it's top 5, but I'm going to remember this for a long time. I will remember it like I will remember Bryan Danielson at WrestleMania 30 kind of thing. Like this was pretty unreal. Just, it was pretty special. And it also 1000% solidified my decision to go to Japan for Tanahashi retirement. Because if they're going to fucking do this for Sumi Sakai at San Jose, what the hell do you think that retirement for Tanahashi is going to be at the Tokyo Dome?
Yeah, and USVA guy was there. He says, "I will always remember it as well." So yeah, when wrestling
right after the show that a lot of people kind of stopped being where they were supposed to be during the show and just kind of milled over and kind of like no one was missing this in the show. Like this was how engrossed every single person in the audience was. Like if you were working, you weren't working for a few seconds. This was pretty amazing.
Yeah, Dunston's still hoping they pull off Nakamura for Tana Wrestle. The odds are against it, but nothing's impossible these days. Nothing's impossible these days.
You want to know something interesting? I don't think it means anything. I don't think they know each other very well. Sumi Sakai hugged every single person in the arena except for Walker Stewart.
Oh no!
Like it was just like
because
they don't know each other very well. And
Veda got up from the broadcast position,
but they have. I'm sure they've had a lot of time together, and they probably, you know what I mean, like.
No, right there, USVA guy says the staff stopped working for this one. They just like now's the time to just all share this experience right there. So.